Hello and welcome to Two Queens, Two Crowns. I'm your host, KJ Miller, entrepreneur, lecturer, and content creator.
And I'm Adrienne Rose White, actress, writer, and teacher of how to actually sell a TV show organically.
Heyo. Well, Adrienne, do you know what we're talking about today?
I have literally no idea. If there was a memo, I missed it.
Yes. No, you did not miss the memo. I thought it would be fun for you to not know. But I just want to say I really decided to swing for the fences for episode 2 because we're talking about Nicki Minaj and Cardi B.
I'm glad I brought my fake alcohol to drink during this.
Yes, come through, mocktail. Yeah, I just sort of felt like if we're gonna do it, let's do it. You know,
Do it. Yeah.
like
Agree.
I
Strong agree.
And I wasn't sure when I sat down to research this episode. And in fact, last week I remember you had asked me while we were recording, what's next week going to be about? And I didn't want to say because I was like, it might not work out. Like, I know who I want it to be about, but I don't know if it's going to work out. Because truly, when I sat down to research, I didn't know where this might take us because, as I'm sure you know, Nicki and Cardi are not friends. Like, they do not like each other. You did know this?
I mean, again, my following of pop culture is not strong, but
Right.
that even I had heard, but I heard it a few years ago. I heard it through the grapevine. I was not certain. So you've confirmed it for me because I trust you as a source of information.
Yes, they have both gone on record with their dislike for each other and the harm they feel the other person has done to them. So this definitely, it's a real undertaking trying to put together an episode wherein ultimately we convince everybody that these women are helping and supporting one another when in fact they do not like each other.
I love this as a challenge for you, and I am happy to be here both supporting and observing as it unfolds.
I love that you're like, I'm happy that you want to give this a try. I, just so America knows, I'm just here. But I'm happy that you want to give this a whirl.
I'm excited. This is
Yeah,
great.
yeah. I'm very excited too. And I feel like, if we can do it with this duo, you know what I mean? Then I feel like the premise of our show is really cemented. Like the thesis is really cemented if we can make a compelling argument for how these two women who actively dislike one another are actually helping and propelling one another forward. If we can do it with them, I mean, I feel like the show's thesis is essentially proven out. Yes?
So this is a really big episode. This is the make or break episode for Two Queens, Two Crowns.
Yeah, turns out it all hangs on this. This could be the last episode.
Listen, you've set up the drama. I'm here for it. And just to add on, and this is, again, as I don't follow pop culture, what I do follow is self-help and development books. So I read this book called The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. And one of the things it talks about is how people can be your allies even when they don't have your best. You can think of someone as your ally, even if they themselves don't have your best interests at heart. And that's a really powerful idea. So I am so excited to see if you can prove that out this episode. I'm in.
Yes, let's do it. Okay, so now you've said you don't keep up with pop culture, but you had heard ramblings of this. So I want to start out just by asking, like, what do you know, or what do you think you know about Nicki and Cardi and the beef between them and their fandoms?
Okay, this is what I know. I don't know much about the fandom beef. What I do know, I vaguely remember an interview of Cardi B where she mentions that Nicki Minaj was like a big hero of hers, like when she was younger, or like, you know, before she got into music. And that as soon as she came onto the scene, it felt like some forces were pitting them against each other. Like people wanted there to be a beef between her and Nicki Minaj. And that, so basically this was before I think any public acknowledgement of a beef. There was like a commentary that forces wanted there to be beef. But that's all I remember.
Yes.
And then I was like, well, someone wants there to be beef. That's what I know.
Well remembered, 100%. Yes. Cardi has gone on record and said, particularly in the very beginning of her career, that people wanted there to be a beef. The media and fans love pitting women against each other, but she was not trying to participate in that. And by the way, Nicki as well was on record saying, like, that's not what this is about. Like, you know, there's nothing there but support. So in the beginning, you're absolutely right. There either wasn't a beef or they did not want there to seem like there was a beef, right? That is true. So I would say well remembered. However, by the time we get to fall 2018, September 2018, there is so much of a beef that they are involved in a physical altercation during New York Fashion Week. Now, do you remember this? Your face is telling me you know.
No, I had no idea. This is, I got to get my news on a weekly basis from you, Kaylee. Even if it's like 6 years old, I'm riveted. Yes. And I feel like I'm tapped into the culture, perhaps for the first time. This is great.
You know what? I love that for you. I think the way you feel getting your pop culture 6 years late for me is the way I feel listening to Taylor Swift's albums, because to me it's all new. I'm like, this song is a bop, and her fans are like, this song came out in 2015, and I'm like, oh, it's new to me. Okay. It's right? New to me. Okay, well, yes. So this happened. There was a physical altercation September 2018 at New York Fashion Week between Nicki Minaj and Cardi B. And that's really, I think, the inciting event as it relates to both the beef between them and the tension between them, but also the lead up to that event. In my eyes, like, if we dig into it, like peel a layer back, I think we learn so much about these women and so much about how they actually are supporting one another. So that fight in 2018, that's the moment we're leading up to. Okay. But I'm going to start by giving you essentially a little bit of history for both of these women leading up to that event. Okay.
I'm so excited. Yes.
Okay. So we're going to start with Nicki Minaj. Now, what I'd like to do is really rewind basically about a year and a half to summer 2017. Now, at this moment, summer 2017, I don't know if you can place yourself in that like time and place, but in this moment, Nicki Minaj was very much the queen of rap. Nobody was on her level, okay? She was just unparalleled in this moment. She had catapulted onto the scene in 2010. And before that, she had been doing like mixtapes. She had like been on the come up, but really 2010 was the year where she had just like, you know, launched into sort of like the media and the mainstream. I saw this stat. It blew my mind. In 2010, she became the first artist ever, not the first female artist, not the first rapper, not the first black rapper, like the first artist ever to have 7 songs on the Billboard Hot 100 at the same time. Okay.
What?
The first artist ever. Here, one of those songs, please tell me you remember the song by Ludacris, My Chick Bad. My Chick Bad. My Chick Hood. My chick do things that your chick wish she could. My chick bad. Okay, is that ringing a bell?
Like so distantly in like the distant past memory. I'm gonna listen to it after this podcast now. It made me happy.
Please do.
I liked hearing
Yes.
you rap. I've loved KJ Luda, if you will.
Yes, it is.
Kajluda.
It's a fantastic song. Every bar on that song is both good and hilarious, and in the way that classic Luda always was. Nicki's featured on that song. Her other songs that were at, in the Billboard Hot 100 include like a feature with Lil Wayne on a song called Knockout. She was on Trey Songz's song Bottoms Up. Do you remember that?
Oh, yep. Bottoms up, bottoms up. Don't make me do more, but yeah, yep.
Yes. Can I get that? Honey, can I get that? Can I get that? That was her verse. And she was on a song with Usher called Little Freak. She was on a song with Sean Kingston. She was on a bunch of features, but all of them were hits. Okay. That's 2010. That's how she jumped into the scene. Okay. Just hit after hit, feature after feature, 50K for a verse, no album out, to use her words. Okay. Then her debut album, Pink Friday, came out in the end of 2010, so in November of 2010. It debuted at number 2, but eventually went to number 1, making her the first female rapper to hit number 1 since Eve's album in 1999. All right, so like there had been a full decade's dearth, and then enter Nicki Minaj, and just sort of exploded onto the scene. A few more stats just to paint the picture of how dominant
Please.
she was.
Paint away. Use those watercolors. Let's go.
She was the first female rapper to perform solo at the Grammys. She won Best Female Hip Hop Artist at the BET Awards every single year from 2010 to 2017. Okay.
Wow.
So, every year since her mainstream debut for 7 years, she won Best Female Rapper at the BET Awards. And by this point in 2017, summer 2017, she had sold 100 million records worldwide, making her the first female rapper ever to achieve this, right? So she was, when I say she was dominant when it came to women in the rap game, she was beyond dominant.
Unparalleled. Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
I did not. I mean, like, I knew Nicki Minaj was incredible. I still love one verse she had on that Kanye song, Monster. First things first, I'll eat your brains. I was just like, I'm in.
Iconic.
But I didn't. Iconic. But I did not know the full expression of what she had accomplished.
Yes. So we get to 2017 again, which is a year before this New York Fashion Week debacle, brouhaha, if you will. We get to 2017, and she decides to take a little bit of a break, right? Mind you, she's been releasing music. She's been on feature after feature. She's had, at this point in the last 7 years, 3 albums go to number 1. She's been nonstop. So she decides to take a break and basically releases no solo music from spring 2017 to spring 2018. She also goes on a social media break for several months leading up to spring 2018. Now, it is in this Nicki Minaj vacuum that Cardi B explodes onto the scene with her hit Bodak Yellow. Okay. Now, I did not realize that. When I was researching this, I did not realize that Cardi B essentially came into like mainstream consciousness during Nicki Minaj's break that she was taking, her little step back. If you were in Nicki Minaj's shoes and you had been dominating for 7 years, and then you decided, let me take a break, let me breathe a little bit before I release my new music in 2018. And in that time, essentially a quote unquote challenger appears and starts dominating the charts. How do you think you would feel?
Adrian would feel like, oh, a new challenge in front of me. How exciting. However, I could totally see someone being like, what the fuck? But I don't think that's on the person who's coming up either. I feel like that's, I don't know, towards the universe, I guess. Or like, you leave space, someone's gonna come in and fill the space. There's a power vacuum. Of course someone's gonna, I think, step in and fill the power vacuum. So yeah. That's my convoluted series of thoughts.
No, I like that take. I think, and I absolutely agree. I do know that you, Adrian, probably would have a more expanded response to that. More of a, what a nice like challenge, or like, look at this other person doing a thing that I'm doing. What can I learn? But I would just like to also hold space for the idea that perhaps someone might look at that and think, I can't even take a day off. I can't even step back without people rushing to give my crown away. Now, I'm just positing that.
I can see that.
I'm just positing that as a possibility. But with that said, let's dive into Cardi. So now here we are. We're back in 2017, the year before this brouhaha. And Cardi B has jumped into the scene. Now, what's important to note here, and I do think this is very important to note, Cardi B was a stripper turned social media influencer turned love and hip hop star turned rapper. Okay, so that was her little journey from stripper to influencer to TV star to rapper. I think that's very important. It'll come up again, but let me pause there and just ask, did you ever watch Love and Hip Hop?
I didn't. I wish I had. Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know if you really I don't know if you really wish you had. It was, I think the only word you can use to describe that show is ratchet. And I mean like extremely ratchet. And I'm down with some amount of ratchetry generally, but
ratchetry.
Yes.
If that is not already in both Oxford and the Urban Dictionary, both. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I want to submit it to both.
Yes.
Again, continue.
I generally am down with a little bit of ratchetry. However, that show it's comical in how ridiculous and over the top it is. However, this is how Cardi B burst onto the scene, right? Because before she got onto Love and Hip Hop, which happened in 2015, like I said, she was a stripper, but she became kind of like online famous via her Instagram because her personality was just like so big and so audacious. And she would talk about, the strip club and all of her exploits and blah, 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 blah. And that's how the Love and Hip Hop producers found her and thought, oh, she'll be perfect for TV. So she hops up on the scene into Love and Hip Hop, and immediately we are introduced to the fact that she is trying to launch her music career. She's rapping, she's been rapping. So, and when I say we are introduced, that makes it sound as if I was watching this show. I was not. I have gone back and watched some clips, but basically from the moment she was on like her first episode, she was talking about going to the booth, putting together her mixtape, basically trying to become a rapper, like trying to get famous essentially. So that's how she burst onto the scene. And between 2015 and 2017, again, our sort of inciting moment with Cardi, she drops 2 mixtapes. And the second one, which is titled Gangsta Bitch Music Volume 2, the second one has the song Bodak Yellow, which drops in June 2017. Now, do you have or did you have a relationship with the song Bodak Yellow?
I'll be honest, not a strong one. I got into Cardi when she did that song I Like It Like That, and then I heard about Bodak Yellow. So then I went back and listened to Bodak Yellow. Yeah. And actually, I think that probably is a fair number of people's relationship with Cardi, because I think I Like It Like That was more of an instant #1 hit. But Bodak Yellow became such
a huge song. I mean, I feel like it had the world in a chokehold. It certainly had me in a chokehold. I love that song. I mean, literally, it starts with the way it starts. The song starts with, said little bitch, you can't fuck with me if you wanted to. These expensive, these is red bottoms, these is bloody shoes.
Bloody shoes.
Like it just, I just feel like it's infectious. Like when you hear, like for someone to just start a song being like, little bitch, it's something about that.
Do you know what? When you said Bodak Yellow, the song didn't come up in my head, but as soon as you said that, you know how sometimes you can remember a song, but you don't remember the name, or you can remember a book, but you don't remember the character. So I loved, I don't dance now, I make money moves.
Make money moves, yes.
And when I left tutoring, that was my personal anthem was, I don't tutor now, I make money moves. I was so into it.
Okay, I love that because, yes, I agree. And first of all, the title of the song, Bodak Yellow, she never says those words in the song, so it makes sense that didn't immediately click for you. But yes, those lyrics, like that song, I just feel like it had all of us in a chokehold. And by September of 2017, it did something that none of Nicki's solo singles had ever done, which was hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. So, a mere 3 months after Cardi bursts onto the scene with her single Bodak Yellow, it goes to #1. Nicki, meanwhile, has been in the game for 7 years, has dropped 3 #1 albums, but has never had a #1 hit single. So again, I ask you, Adrian, if you were in Nicki's shoes, how might you be feeling at this point?
Well, similar to how I stated before, maybe I'd feel like, what? I did all this and someone climbing on my, like I've done all the work. I built the ladder. I take a break and someone else climbed to the top of my ladder. Maybe.
Do you see? You see? Yes. That is exactly what I think may have been forming for Nicki Minaj. Now, let me be very clear. I do not know Nicki Minaj. This is speculation, but I do think it is at least somewhat ingrained in us as humans, because we are human, to have thoughts like this. To me, if I've been the top #1 female rapper for 7 years, the BET awarded rapper every year for 7 years, the first female rapper to ever perform at the Grammys, like 3 #1 albums. I'm laying all this groundwork. I take a break to give myself a minute to breathe, and someone pops onto the scene from Love and Hip Hop and within months has a #1 single. There's no way I'm not going to feel a little bit of something about that, right? Like there's no way you're not going to feel a little bit of something about that.
I'll tell you what, if I were writing this as a TV series, that's definitely the angle I would take. Like, we can't know what was going on with these people. You never, like, people's internal motivations and core wounds, like, so specific to them. But that is definitely a very universally human response to have, for sure.
Yes. I love that answer. It's so TV writer. And I agree. It's a universally human response. However, interestingly for our story, when this happens, when Cardi hits #1, Nicki immediately tweets her congratulations. So Nicki tweets out, "Congratulations to a fellow New Yorker on a record-breaking achievement. Barty, this is the only thing that matters." To which Cardi responded, "Thank you. This means so much coming from you." So it would appear as though Nicki, in fact, is not having this internal monologue that I think would be very human to have, and instead is very excited and congratulatory. That's at least how it would appear based on this tweet.
I love that.
I do too. And if the story ended there, it would just be a story of women supporting women. Unfortunately, the story does not end there. So basically, around this time, There's a sequel. This is really around the time where rumors of a feud start to pick up. Now, there had been rumors of a feud before this, right? Like before her song went to number one, basically ever since Cardi was coming up in the game and on the scene, people were essentially speculating that there was a feud between Nicki and Cardi. But something about Cardi going to number one really just like lit those rumors on fire. And suddenly people started to look even more into their lyrics and decided that like they were actually dissing each other in their songs. So for example, Nicki Minaj was on a song that summer called Swish Swish by Katy Perry. Do you remember that song?
No. If you sang a little bit, I might remember it, but not on the top of my head.
Nah, you probably wouldn't. It wasn't a good song. And it was not a very, it was also not a very popular song. However, in the song, she has a lyric. Nicki Minaj raps, "Pink Ferragamo sliders on deck. Silly rap beefs just get me more checks. My life is a movie. I'm never offset. Me and my amigos, no, not Offset." Now, Offset is Cardi B's boyfriend, husband, baby's father. I forget which of these things he was at this point, but you know, they've been in a long-term relationship. So people are looking at that, even though the song was released prior to Bodak Yellow, and even though Nicki has tweeted her congratulations, people are now looking back at those lyrics and saying that was a diss because she was dissing Offset and thereby ergo dissing Cardi B. Okay. Now, I don't know why they would conclude that, but that's what the streets were concluding. Also, on the other end, for Cardi, she hopped on a song with a rapper called G-Eazy, who I'm not super familiar with, and was on a song called No Limit, where she rapped the lyrics, "Can you stop with all the subs? Bitch, I ain't Jared." And people assume that was a Nicki diss. Now, let me just clarify. Do you know what that lyric means? Stop with all the subs, bitch, I ain't Jared.
I mean, I know Jared was the Subway guy, but I don't know what that would have to do with Nicki Minaj.
So when she says, "Can you stop with all the subs?" she's referring to essentially like the sub tweets or the sub lyrics.
Like the subtle like hits. The subtle
you're
like digs at her. Okay.
Right. Basically you are tweeting about me or you are speaking about me, but you're not saying my name. So that's a sub.
Got it.
So she's saying, "Stop with all the subs," and then the play on words is like subs like sandwich. Bitch, I ain't Jared. Okay. Just to explain the lyric. All right. So people are looking into all these lyrics and basically concluding like, oh, this is Nicki dissing Cardi and this is Cardi dissing Nicki. But, and this gets to what you remembered at the top of the episode, both women at the time are going on record and saying, no, this is not that. Cardi went on a radio show in an interview and said, people want to assume that there's beef between the two of us, but there's not. Like, people want to do it for ratings or for clicks or whatever, but there is no beef. And Nicki also, she tweeted like, this line had nothing to do with Cardi, the line about Offset, you know, basically saying like, I wrote it months ago, has nothing to do with her. So both of these women are literally on record at this point saying there is no beef and this does not need to be a thing. This is a narrative that's being planted. So that's where we are right now. Is all of this making sense? Is it tracking? Is it ringing any bells for you?
It's ringing all the bells. This makes sense. And I'm trying to, I feel like every time there's this opportunity for a beef joke and I keep missing it. And by the end of this episode, I just want to say I will make a pun or a joke about beef. I just want to state that intention now. Thank you.
Okay. It's going to be really embarrassing if you can't pull this off. So we will all be watching and waiting.
Well, this episode, it's all on the line. So for you and for me.
True. That's true. It could be our last episode. We don't know. Okay. So now this is where we are, right? We've made it essentially at this point to call it spring-ish 2018, shortly before we get to the big fight. And the last public word from these women is that there is no beef. But I would like to pause here and interject with what I believe is happening at this point for these two women.
into it?
I think for Nicki, I think seeing Cardi ascend at this moment where she's taking a break, hit this pivotal milestone that she has yet to hit, and see people rushing to crown her queen of rap, best rapper. She's getting all of these features and things where Nicki used to be the go-to person to call for a feature. She hopped up on a song with Maroon 5 that went to #1 where, Nicki was the girl to call for a feature. I think for Nicki, this opened up a very deep wound. And part of the reason I think this is because Nicki has gone on record many, many times since then. Basically, anytime any new female rapper hits the scene and says something to the effect of, and she's said this about Cardi as well, like, if I were in their shoes, I would be singing nothing but praise for Nicki Minaj because of, the doors I've opened and the road I've paved, so on and so forth. Like, basically, like, I've made it so that all of these girls can come up and they're not showing me any love. They're not showing me any respect. So to me, it seems very clear that for whatever reason, this is a core wound for Nicki. Nicki feels like I have worked really hard and that work has benefited many people other than me, and people are not showing me the respect I deserve for having done that. So I think what's happening in this moment for Nicki is she's seeing Cardi rise up and she's trying to be the person who's congratulatory and excited. She's trying to be that person, but in the back of her mind, she's like, but wait, like, I've done all this work and why aren't you putting enough respect on my name, essentially, And that's what I think is happening for Nicki. But over here for Cardi, what I think is happening is, and again, Cardi has gone on record and said at this time in her career, she was fighting so hard to be taken seriously as a rapper. People wanted to discount her because she was a stripper. People wanted to discount her because she was coming from Love and Hip Hop. And she just wanted people to take her seriously for her art, for her music, for her work ethic. And so for her, the fact that people kept bringing up Nicki Minaj in every interview, in everything, she felt like, I'm trying to talk about me and my music, and you guys keep talking about her. And that, I think, opened up a little bit of a core wound around not being taken seriously. Because if I were being taken seriously, why can't you just be talking about me? Why does every conversation also have to be about her? So this is what I think is developing in the background for these women.
Wow. Okay. The screenwriter in me is just listening to this and hearing like one wound. Because when we create characters, we think about what motivates them and why they want what they want. So one character wanting respect and feeling she's not getting the respect that she deserves, and the other essentially feeling very similar, like she's not being taken seriously. It's like different shades of the same question, that both feel like they're not getting enough of what they are entitled to after all the work that they've put in.
Yes, exactly. That's what I think we are dealing with when we get to 2018. Now, in the late, like sort of back half of 2017, right before we get to 2018, both of these women are on a song called Motorsport with Migos. And this is where things really start to go south, because after the song is released, Cardi's doing an interview. They ask her about being on the song with Nicki, and Cardi says Nicki had changed her verse. Basically, she says, yeah, we're on the song together, but Nicki's verse changed. Like, what I heard when I first heard the track is not what you guys heard. Now, I went and listened to that clip from this interview, and to me, it didn't sound necessarily shady the way Cardi said it. It just sort of sounded like, yeah, but the track changed. I didn't immediately get like that she was being like shady or and it had animosity in it. However, Nicki very much felt like she was being shady, apparently, because then Nicki later went on and tweeted, "How can you say someone changed their verse and forget to say that first, Quavo told me to remove my singing part," because her verse originally had some singing, and second, Atlantic told me to remove your name from my verse per your request. So basically, Nicki's like, you asked for the verse to be changed, so how are you going to make it sound like it's just something I did? And apparently what Nicki was upset about was she thought that essentially Cardi was saying that Nicki had changed her verse in an effort to one up her. Like Nicki had a verse, then Cardi did her verse, and then later Nicki came and changed her verse because she had heard Cardi's and wanted to one up Cardi. That's what Nicki thought Cardi was implying. Whether or not Cardi was actually implying that, I don't know, but that's what Nicki thought she was implying. So Nicki sent that tweet and basically said like, no, absolutely not. And then went on a radio show and basically put it all out there. So she said this when she went on Apple Music Beats 1. She said, "When I first came in the game, if a female of that stature had done a feature with me on it, I would only be singing their praises and saying thank you. But the first interview Cardi did after Motorsport came out, it just really hurt me because she looked so aggravated and angry. I kind of felt ambushed." So I feel like we have these core wounds literally playing out, because Nicki's saying the only thing you should have done was sing my praises. But Cardi's saying, essentially, I don't even really know why we're talking about Nicki, but if we are talking about Nicki, she changed her verse. So it feels like the wounds are on display. And this is all happening, like these interviews are happening spring 2018. So a mere few months before we get to the fight in New York in September.
Copy. Okay. So it sounds like did Cardi have a response to that? Like a response to Nicki going on the show and everything? Because I'd wonder, I think a lot of celebrities have like back channels to each other and they can like call each other up and handle things directly. So when you go public, that feels specific, whether it's like swept up in the emotion or it's I'm going to deliberately put this person on blast. Like it definitely feels like a bigger emotional, like it's a choice to do it publicly as opposed to privately. So that's, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, actually, now that you say that, it reminds me, Cardi did say, we find out later, Cardi says that they had spoken in private. So while she didn't respond in public, she and Nicki Minaj had spoken in private, but we don't know the timeline of that. We don't know when they spoke. We don't know if it was before these interviews, after these interviews. We just know that according to Cardi, they did have private conversations at some point, potentially regarding this motor sport issue.
Okay.
But those interviews are happening. That's spring 2018. Some months go by and now it's September 2018. And these women are at New York Fashion Week. They're at a party for New York Fashion Week. I believe it's thrown by Harper's Bazaar. And video emerges of Cardi B lunging toward Nicki Minaj and Nicki Minaj's camp, and then being held back by security. It looks like it's essentially Nicki's personal bodyguards. And you can still see this video online. It's hard to decipher exactly what's happening, but from the angles that we are provided, essentially, and from eyewitness accounts, this is what we believe happened. Basically, Cardi took her shoe. She tried to get at Nicki Minaj, like tried to break into sort of her inner circle and was yelling at her about something. When the bodyguards wouldn't let her through, she took off her shoe and threw it at Nicki Minaj. It did not make contact as far as we know, but she threw her shoe at Nicki Minaj, And in the ensuing shuffle, somebody hit Cardi. We don't know who. We think potentially a bodyguard. Again, we're not sure. She leaves the party with a huge knot on her head. Cardi does. A huge knot on her head and wearing one single shoe. So that was the altercation.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. Wow. So, okay. I'm deeply invested. What happened? Like, what's her explanation of this? What happens after that?
Well, and let me just say here, this is a show about uplifting the women, but I do think we need to like fully just understand what happened here. So two things happen. Cardi immediately hops online to explain her side of the story, where Nicki, we don't hear anything from Nicki for several days. So Cardi hops online onto Instagram and says this: I've let a lot of shit slide. I let you sneak diss me. I let you lie on me. I let you attempt to stop my bags, fuck up the way I eat. You've threatened other artists in the industry, told them if they work with me, you'll stop fucking with them. I let you talk big shit about me. I addressed you once in person. I addressed you a second time in person. And every time you copped the plea. But when you mention my child, you choose to like comments about me as a mother, make comments about my abilities to take care of my daughter. That's when all bets are fucking off. So that's what Cardi had to say. Essentially, she had tried to let it slide. She had spoken to Nicki Minaj over the beef that again, publicly, they were telling us there was no beef, but privately, clearly there was, because Cardi says, we spoke about it in person, in private, tried to squash it. But then you started talking about my child and my mothering skills. And that's when I had to then throw my shoe at you. Nicki Minaj says nothing in this moment, but then a few days later gets on her radio show and denies ever talking about Cardi B's daughter, and says, I would never ridicule anyone's child. It's so sad for someone to pin that on somebody. I would never talk about anyone's child or parenting. These lies are ridiculous. So, obviously they do not agree about what started the fight, but that's what was the aftermath of the fight.
Got it. Okay. Wow. Your work is cut out for you, KJ, to show how they've lifted each other up. You've set up a big challenge for yourself.
I know. I know. And I just will say, because I do believe there's a case to be made here. And I think that case is really relying on understanding what I think and maybe believing what I believe, which is both of these women were coming from a place of hurt and coming from a place of hurt that was centered in something else, something I think in them that didn't necessarily have to do with the other person. It's almost like the other person was a conduit of a privately held hurt or a privately held insecurity. And I think if I'm right about that, and look, I could be wrong, but if I'm right about that, that is so relatable, right? Like the idea that there is just something that you struggle with, that you are frustrated by, or that is a deep insecurity for you, and that you sort of attach it onto someone else or project it onto someone else because they happen to show up at the right time or in the right moment, or in a way that just perfectly illustrates that insecurity. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. It just feels like sometimes those mirrors come up in your life at these really pivotal, critical moments that just show you or make you face some core thing, some core hurt that you haven't looked at before. Again, can only, this is my first foray into knowing a deeper story about these women, but that's certainly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
From what you've described. Yeah.
So with that in mind, I am now going to make my case for how these women are actually helping one another. And for me, it really comes down to one sort of big thought and idea around how Nicki helps Cardi, and one sort of big thought and idea around how Cardi helps Nicki. So I'll start with Nicki. And I will say maybe this will seem rather obvious, but in my mind, Nicki Minaj completely revived the female rap game. Like, she truly did lay the groundwork for Cardi, for Meg Thee Stallion, for Doja Cat, for all of these highly successful women rappers we now know and love. Nicki laid the groundwork. And I mean, in a lot of ways, women-led rap was really quite sleepy when she entered the scene, right? Like I said at the top, Pink Friday was the first female rap album to hit number one since 1999, right? And Pink Friday came out in 2010. So over a decade had gone by without any woman rapper ever making that type of a splash on the scene until Nicki came and did it.
Well, I have one question. Where did, and you might not have the answer, I don't know. Where did Missy Elliott fit in terms of when were her big hits? Because I remember her like popping all the way off.
Yes.
And being really
absolutely.
popular at one point.
Missy Elliott was hugely popular. Most of her hits, it's my recollection, happened in the 90s and in the early aughts, like I would say by the time we graduated from high school, which was 04, I think we were out of Missy's super era, right?
Got it.
But
That's
even Missy, who, yes, was extremely successful, even Missy had never had a number one single on her own, a number one solo single on her own, right? So Nicki was coming into kind of a void where, you know, female rap just was not topping the charts and female rappers were not being spoken about in mainstream conversations until she came and really laid the groundwork. And I just think that we would not have seen Cardi have the mainstream crossover like appeal that she had if Nicki hadn't already laid the groundwork and set the stage. I mean, if you think about like Nicki Minaj Super Bass and Starships and these songs that were like, yes, rap songs, but like deeply pop songs, right? Like deep, like pop core, you know what I mean? Like, even though sometimes people give her shit for going pop, sometimes people give Nicki Minaj shit for going pop, her willingness to do that and to deliver Barbie, right, which is her core thing, Barbie, and deliver these songs that were larger than life, I really feel like they paved the way for Cardi and other rappers to have a very similar trajectory. And, you know, to your point, yes, there were other rappers that came close in, you know, like decades prior, but none of them had the same level of success as Nicki Minaj. Like she truly changed the game. And the only other person who I think you could say had a similar level of success was Lauryn Hill, because Lauryn Hill, I believe she did have a number one song with Doo-Wop That Thing, but I would classify Lauryn Hill as like a conscious rapper. You know what I mean? Like that whole album, it was great. It's fantastic. But it was very conscious. Even That Thing was like, she was making a point, right? Mm-hmm. Where Nicki to me is a pop rapper, which is just a different thing.
Which is funny. I really think of Lauryn Hill as a singer. Like I think of her as a singer first, who also raps, but like I don't think of her as a rapper. Yeah, in the same way. Yeah. I think they're very different. And yes, Lauryn Hill is for sure a vocalist. Like her voice is unparalleled in a lot of ways. So yeah, I just think Nicki walked so Cardi could run. I really just don't know how else to say it. That's my case for Nicki. What do you think of that? I mean, I agree. I sense, you know, much like another podcast we did, people might get mad at saying that, but I think it's true. I think it's true. I think it makes sense. And I think, you know, not that they would necessarily want to talk about this more, but I think Cardi would say that too, you know? I mean, in her early days, she would have said it. And she's like, yeah, she definitely paved the way. Yeah, for sure.
Amazing.
But now I want the not the counter argument, but the counter support. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Now, here's what I think. And I actually spoke about this with my husband. We were sort of like going back and forth because I was like, now I want to make the case for Cardi, for Cardi helping Nicki. And this is where we landed. I think, how do I want to say this? I think that Nicki Minaj, before Cardi entered the scene, Nicki Minaj was essentially carrying the female rap genre on her back by herself. I think that is, one, lonely, but also really precarious. Because in my mind, if you're the only one who looks like you doing a thing, then you don't really have a category. You don't really have a genre. You just have you. And so if something happens to you, if you fall off, if you have a bad year, if you make a couple of songs that flop, then it's almost like the whole quote unquote category goes with you, right? Because you are the category. So you're Nicki Minaj, female rap is you, and you are female rap, and you have an off year. Okay, well, now there is no more female rap. But I feel like the presence of a Cardi B allows the entire category, the entire genre of female rap to be taken more seriously, because now it's not just one person. And so I feel like that almost gives you breathing room. Because if you were to fall off again, if you were to have a bad year or put out a flop album, who knows if there's anything for you to come back to, right? Because there isn't really a genre. It's just you. So if you flop and you try to come back, maybe the whole country has moved on. Maybe we've all decided, oh, okay, Nicki Minaj was a moment. That moment's over. We've moved on. But with Cardi and then Meg and then Doja Cat and then, Lotto and whomever, now there's a category. Now there's a genre. Now it feels like something more substantive. And I think everybody is helped by that. Everyone in the category is helped by that. I used to say a similar sort of thing with my brand, Minted. Shortly after I launched Minted, Rihanna launched Fenty. People would always be like, oh, are you so mad? Are you so mad? And I felt like, no, I'm not mad, because Rihanna's shining an even bigger light on the need for inclusion in beauty. And I get some of that spotlight too, right? Like, it doesn't just shine on her. So I feel like there's something along those lines happening here. But is that too much of a stretch?
Okay, I want to say it back to you to make sure I'm hearing it. You're saying that Cardi B helped Nicki Minaj in expanding the category so that Nicki didn't have to carry it for herself anymore. And when you expand the category, it shines light on everyone in the category and makes it so that, I'm going to build on what you just said, that it makes what Nicki did not just for herself, but help build the legacy of the impact that she had within the female rap genre, and made it so that this genre continues, so that, Nicki can come back whenever she wants to, because there's a living, breathing thing there that didn't live and die with her.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can see that. I had to say it back to make sure I believed it, but yeah.
It is kind of a more esoteric point. Does esoteric mean what I think it means? What does that mean?
But I'll Google it right now, because that's a word that I've been thinking about for a long time. Here it is: intended or likely to be understood only by a small number of people with a specialized knowledge or interest. So that might be right. Yeah.
I think I used it. I think I used it right. Okay. Yes. So I feel like it might be a slightly esoteric point and a slightly out there point, but I don't know. For me, it resonates. It resonates, this idea that when you are one of one, you're on an island. There isn't anything to latch on to if something happens to you. And look, maybe Nicki would say, I'm fine with that. I'm fine if I am the rap game. But I think we people actually would not be fine with that. And in fact, I think Nicki wouldn't be fine with that. I think she is better off existing in a world where there are other female rappers, if for no other reason, to cement her legacy as the quote unquote best. How can you be the best if there's no one to compare you to?
Ooh, I hadn't thought of that. And I would also say that, like I said at the beginning, the situations that come up that are the greatest obstacles tend to reveal the things we need to reveal and help us tap into our greatest strengths. So and again, you'd have to ask Nicki this, I don't know, but I would posit that obstacle coming up, that maybe opened up some things for her in her actual life. Again, I don't know. So clear. Did I mention I don't know these people personally or their internal emotional lives? But I do, it does strike me that there is probably some opportunity there. And also in a way, didn't the beef help both of their careers? Like just being in people's mouths, in something
100%.
And in a career that is a lot of times about talking about conflict and kind of going deep and raw and real, then it is, I guess, similar to reality TV, right? Like that makes people lean in and pay attention. So in that way, they've really kept each other relevant and part of the discourse, part of the zeitgeist.
100%. That was literally the third point I was going to make, which is both of them have absolutely benefited from this beef. And what's interesting is this is a show about women uplifting women. However, I think we cannot ignore the fact that rap as a musical genre has always had an element of rap beefs, and diss tracks. That's actually part of the genre of rap. And so, and we've seen the lyrical greats participate in that, from Eminem to Jay-Z to Nas. We've watched this happen for many decades. And so I think it would be unfair to say this thing that, for better or worse, seems to be pretty pivotal to this genre. Literally rap battles are a thing. So this thing that seems to be pretty pivotal to this genre, women can't participate in. So if we believe they can participate in it, then Nicki and Cardi participating in it has helped both of them. So just in that, they have both helped and propelled one another.
Wow, literally propelled, propelled across a room, but propelled into greatness. Yeah.
Yes.
Here's my again uninformed theory. Caveat. I feel like I should have a shirt that just says caveat. There's a show called You're the Worst that was out maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and in the first season there's a rap group who their PR person decides that they should have beef because it's getting them more attention. So the PR person engineers a beef and then they make diss tracks about each other. And to be honest, as you were telling me this story, I was like, I wonder who their publicists are. This would be a great, I don't know. This would literally be a great way to propel each other.
I mean, did I or did I not make a compelling case? I mean,
no, the show lives on. Long live Two Dope Queens. Okay, I just have an additional set of women who were pitted against each other, but are actually friends and lifting each other up. And that it's very timely because of the Oscars. It is Emma Stone and Lily Gladstone. So they were both nominated for Best Picture. And so, of course, that's literally being pitted against each other. This group of women is pitted against each other every year all through award season as you go through SAGs and Golden Globes and the Emmys and the Oscars, right? So you're traveling with these people, but you're in competition. Well, these two women who both have stone in their name ended up becoming friends and now essentially have friendship rings together with a stone in them, and they call them the Infinity Stones for their new friendship and for how much they admire each other as actors and as people. So I just thought that group, those two women in particular, deciding to turn this competition into a way to support and lift each other up and talk about how much they believe in each other. I thought it was really, really special. And I wanted to shout that out on this podcast. We see more queens supporting each other.
I love that. Queens supporting queens. Amen.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
All right. Before we jump into our final thoughts, Adrian, as you know, I do like to shout out some of my favorite comments that I'm seeing in the social media sphere. So a few to shout out this week. One from a user named Coco Kai. She was talking about the segment that we did on Beyonce's hair care line on Sacred. And basically she agreed with our take about how smart that launch was. And she said, what's also different from others is the education behind it. Most products I've used, I've had to do my own research. So just calling out that she agrees Beyonce is doing something really well with this launch. And I agree with you, Coco Kai. Thank you for your comment.
Hey, Coco. Thanks for a great comment.
And then one more from a user named Danny. This one was on one of our posts about Beyonce and Taylor and how they are helping one another. She says, God forbid we talk about B and Taylor Swift together without some people in the comments needing to pit them against each other. Some of you here need to act your age and be normal. Which I just thought was...
It's a fantastic comment. Highly supported.
I mean... be normal. I agree, Danny. Okay, and it is time for our final thoughts. Adrian, where are you ending up tonight?
I'm ending up really impressed with what women in rap have accomplished, and excited to see what comes out next. Like, whether this was all magnificently engineered as a story for us to think about, like the psychological underpinnings, or whether it's all real and we still get to do that, or whether these are just great artists that we get to watch at the top of their game. I'm grateful that we got to celebrate two queens doing what they do.
I love that. I love that. And you know, I think where I'm ending is, I guess I'm hopeful that Cardi and Nicki can at some point get to a point where they recognize how much they both have helped one another, and that can start to, I don't know, end up in something akin to healing. You know, I hope that for them, unless, of course, all of this is just one big PR stunt, which, you know, more power to them if it is. But to the extent that it isn't, and there is just like some real hurt there, some real insecurity there, some real pain there, I hope that they can both kind of grow from it and learn from it and get to the other side, because I personally just always feel so much better when I am no longer feuding with someone. Oh, it's exhausting being in a feud. So,
well, listen, to Nicki and Cardi's PR folks, just saying, what would be bigger PR than if they did a song together or if they healed the thing? Like, that would get so much attention at this point. Just putting it out there, planting a seed.
100%. And I don't think you came up with your beef joke.
Oh, no! Moo! There, I did it.
No,
I did it.
That's absolutely getting cut. It's absolutely getting edited out.
No! The people will love this.